So today we'll continue with the discussion on analysis of heat exchangers, which we have been already discussing. Okay. So see over here that we have seen that the hot fluid and the cold fluid, both of these loses and gains heat respectively in equal amount. Okay, and over here you can see that this is the heat that is being gained by the cold fluid, and this is the heat. This amount of heat is only gained by the hot fluid. Okay, assuming that there is no heat loss. Now these are the usual notations that MC and this MH, these are the mass flow rates, and these are the specific heats of the hot and the cold fluid respectively. I am not writing these things. And these are the outside and the inside temperatures of the cold fluid, and this for the hot fluid. And this heat will be equal to heat lost will be equal to heat gained according to the second law of thermodynamics. So these are the things we have already told. So in heat exchanger analysis, it is very convenient to combine the product of the mass flow rate and the specific heat of a fluid into a single quantity, and this quantity is known as the heat capacity rate, and this is known as the heat capacity rate. So for the hot fluid, this heat capacity rate for the hot fluid will be mH into Cph. This will be the heat capacity rate for the hot fluid, and similarly for the cold fluid it will be MC into Cpc. Now this heat capacity, so you can easily substitute this MC Cpc by this Cc, and here we will substitute by Ch. Okay, now this heat capacity rate of a fluid stream, which is represented over here, it represents the rate of heat transfer needed to change the temperature of a fluid stream by 1 degree centigrade when it flows through the heat exchanger. So it represents the rate of heat transfer. The heat capacity rate of a fluid stream, it represents the rate of heat transfer needed to change the temperature by 1 degree centigrade. As it flows through the heat exchanger. Okay. So it is obvious that in the heat exchanger, the fluid which has a large heat capacity rate, the fluid that has a large heat capacity rate will experience a small temperature difference, will experience a small temperature change. And fluid with small heat capacity will experience a large temperature change. So by doubling the mass flow rate of a fluid, while doubling the mass flow rate, suppose this MC, we make it 2 times, okay, without changing any other entity, so this temperature change will be halved. Okay, so the heat transfer rate is the heat capacity into the temperature change of that fluid. Okay, now this temperature change for both the hot and the cold fluids will be equal when the heat capacities of these two hot fluids are equal to each other. Only then the temperature change will be equal. Okay, now we'll discuss about some special type of heat exchangers. These are generally used. These are the condensers and the boilers. So in these heat exchangers, the condenser and the boiler, there is a phase change takes place of the liquid. Okay, and the heat transfer rate can be expressed as where m is the mass rate of evaporation or condensation of the fluid, and this is the enthalpy of vaporization of the fluid for a boiling fluid. This is the enthalpy of vaporization of the fluid at a specified temperature and pressure. Okay, so an ordinary fluid, it releases or absorbs a large amount of heat energy, okay, during a constant temperature phase change process. And this heat capacity rate of the fluid during this phase change process, the heat capacity rate during the phase change process must be infinity. Must be infinity. Since the temperature change is 0, that is this MCP, it must be equal to infinity, because this temperature change is 0 at a during phase change of the liquid. So this heat transfer rate will be a finite quantity. Okay. So this MCP delta is a finite quantity. So the diagram will be, this phase change diagram will be for this fluid. Suppose this is the condensing fluid. This is the temperature difference. This will be equal to 0. So heat will be released. Okay, and temperature change will be 0. So the heat capacity will be infinity. And this heat will be transferred to the cold fluid, which will gain heat, and its temperature will increase in the process. So this is this cold fluid, and this is the condensing fluid. Okay. So I hope this is clear to you. So the rate of heat transfer in a heat exchanger can be expressed in analogous manner to the Newton's law of cooling as this delta Tm is the appropriate average temperature difference between the two fluids. This one you already know, this is the surface area. Okay, this can be determined by the dimensions of the heat exchanger. And this is the overall heat transfer coefficient. This is the overall heat transfer coefficient. Now the thing is that this U, this overall heat transfer coefficient, and this delta T, okay, they vary. These two are not constant entities, and they vary along the heat exchanger. So you have to find the average value of this overall heat transfer coefficient. Okay, and this can be determined by using the average convection coefficients for each fluid. So this mean temperature difference between the two fluids is logarithmic, and we will see this in the next discussion. So this delta T, will see the how to determine this delta T, this average value of this temperature difference between the fluids. Now we will determine this value of delta Tm in the next which I will discuss now. So in order to derive the relation for this average temperature difference, the delta Tm. So we consider this simple parallel flow heat exchanger over here. You can see this two type of fluids, this hot and cold fluids. Okay, so you can see from this the variation of temperature along the length of this heat exchanger. So the temperature difference between the hot and the cold fluids, this temperature difference between the hot and the cold fluids is very large at the inlet of the heat exchanger, but it decreases exponentially as it moves towards the outlet. So the temperature of the hot fluid decreases. So the temperature of the hot fluid decreases and temperature of the cold fluid increases along the length of the heat exchanger, but the temperature of the cold fluid can never exceed that of the hot fluid. Temperature of the cold fluid can never exceed the hot fluid, no matter how much time you keep them in contact. Okay, now let us see. So now assuming the heat exchanger to be well insulated so that no heat transfer occurs between the fluids, and neglecting the changes in kinetic and potential energy will make the energy balance on each fluid. Considering a small section of the heat exchanger, suppose this small section. So for this hot fluid, this small amount of heat energy that is being lost is minus mH. This minus because heat is being rejected. Minus mH Cph into dTh. And for the cold fluid that gains the heat, dTc. So the rate of heat loss from the hot fluid at any section of the heat exchanger is equal to the heat gain by the cold fluid in that section. And this is the negative quantity because the heat is being rejected by the hot fluid, and so we used the negative sign. Now we'll solve these things. You see, from here you get dTh is equal to minus mH by Cph, dTh minus dQ by mH into Cph, and dTc dQ by mC into Cpc. Now taking this difference, dTh minus dTc is equal to d into Th minus Tc is equal to minus dQ. mH Cph plus 1 by mC Cpc. So this is the temperature difference. So this rate of heat transfer in this differential portion of the heat, this dQ dash, this differential section of this heat exchanger can be this dQ dash. We can write it as U into Th minus Tc by into dA. So UA delta T. So we substitute this in this. We substitute this value of dQ. We substitute this value of dQ over here. So we put this value of this dQ in this equation. Okay, and then we get this value you see over here, d into th minus tc by th minus tc. This th minus tc, we are taking this th minus tc below this, dth minus tc by th minus tc, and on the right hand side you will get minus u dA 1 by mh cph plus 1 by mc cpc. So now we integrate from the on both sides. So we get into Tc out with Tc in. UAS MHCPH plus 1 by MCCPC. So dl by L, we get the log, we get the dl by L integration, we'll get ln, and we integrate between the outlet and the inlet, so we get this value finally. Okay, you have understood this? Now we'll substitute the value of this MCCPC and MHCPH. Now when we will put the values of MCCPC and MHCPH from over here, we will substitute the values, and then we will get, and after some rearrangement we will get this final value as, we write this UAS delta T Ln, this is the logarithmic mean temperature difference, and this delta T Lm will be delta T1 minus delta T2 by Ln delta T1 by delta T2. What is this delta T1 and delta T2? So this represents the temperature difference between the fluids at the two ends. That is, delta T1 is for the this delta T1 will be difference of temperature between the hot fluid at inlet and outlet, and delta T2 will be Th out minus Tc in. Okay, so this is the values. So this temperature difference between the two fluids, it decreases from delta T1 at the inlet to delta T2 at the outlet. So the average temperature difference will be half of this delta T1 plus delta T2. So this delta TLM, or the logarithmic mean temperature difference, this logarithmic mean temperature difference, this is obtained by tracing the actual temperature profile of the fluids along the heat exchanger. Okay, and this is an exact representation of the average temperature difference between the hot and cold fluids. So this truly reflects the exponential decay of the local temperature difference. So this can be obtained by tracing the temperature profile. Now another thing to be noted over here is that this logarithmic mean temperature difference will always be less than this average temperature difference. So using this average value of this temperature difference, okay, so this will overestimate the rate of heat transfer in a heat exchanger. So this will overestimate the rate of heat transfer in a heat exchanger. So we will generally use this value of this logarithmic temperature difference and not this average temperature difference, because there will be error. Okay, while we calculate by using the average temperature difference, when the temperature difference between this delta T1 and delta T2 is very large. Okay, so we'll always use this value of delta T LMTD, or the logarithmic mean temperature difference, when determining the rate of heat transfer. Okay, so this is all about this logarithmic mean temperature difference. Okay, you have to solve problems of heat exchangers using this delta T LMTD, logarithmic mean temperature difference. So this is all for today. So we'll continue our discussion on heat exchanger in the next class. Thank you.